Hello, friends. It's late afternoon as I write this on a waning summer day. I'm sitting at a cafe and watching the greenery outside sway heavily under the hot August sun, wondering how to go about tackling this sensitive topic. I am no expert on anxiety. All I have is the knowledge gained from my journey with it throughout my life. I approach this topic humbly and solely with the purpose of sharing my experience. Everyone will have a different path to finding peace within their mind, and I highly encourage reaching out for help from a professional. It is a brave thing to do and can forever change your life for the better. And now I'll begin my story. My personal journey with mental health and accepting who I am. Anxiety is something that I can remember feeling throughout most of my life. When I was young, I didn't understand why feelings of nerves and fear would sometimes loop in my head. In my teenage years, I went through long, difficult periods where I felt lost in my anxious mind and struggled with depression. I had no idea how to grow or change, or how to reach out for help. I felt very scared and alone. Mental health wasn't something being talked about openly at this time. But my mother noticed that I wasn't in a good place, and I finally opened up honestly about what I was experiencing. It was such a relief to share this secret burden I had been carrying around and know that I was still loved by the people around me. I began going to therapy, a life-changing choice that became a habit I continue to this day. My therapist taught me how to work with the highs and lows of the depression and anxiety I was dealing with. We began putting together the puzzle pieces that make up who I am, taking time to cautiously and respectfully understand each one. I learned that many other people were experiencing exactly what I was. I wasn't alone in this struggle as I had thought. Most of all, through those early years of therapy, I found a sense of stability and coping mechanisms for when anxiety would flare up in my life. As amazing as this progress was, my journey didn't end there. Anxiety fluctuated in and out of my life, sometimes in direct correlation to stress, and sometimes just because. I tried different methods of therapy, art therapy, meditation, yoga, and each of these things has taught me valuable lessons in their own way. Yet anxiety would continue to trickle in when I wasn't looking, and I would get so mad when it did. Hadn't I been working for this not to keep happening? Anxiety felt like a foe I was trying to battle and win over, a part of me to shut off and get rid of. I would be disappointed every time it would rear its ugly head in my life again, feeling like a failure for letting it slip back in. And maybe that's something I got wrong in my early years of therapy. I trained myself to think that anxiety was the enemy. But life and our complicated minds are so much more nuanced than that. Nothing in this life is so black and white. No emotion is good or evil, no matter how hard we try to make them. After I left my corporate career last year, I knew the period of open space that followed would be difficult. I was entering an unknown where I had no distractions, no goals, no career or school, just time to contemplate what I wanted in life. At other stages in my life, this would have terrified me. Too much time to think meant I would have too much space for anxiety. But now, at 27, I felt confident that I could work with my mental health struggles and find happiness in this open space. I was on a journey of self-exploration, and I was finally feeling ready to dive into understanding the root of my anxiety. With the help of my wonderful therapist, I began exploring this part of me that has been scared for so long. As I embarked on this exploration of who I am and where my anxiety has been stemming from all these years, I found myself beginning to seek answers from an unexpected place: nature. Many people have turned to nature for solace, wisdom, and peace throughout human existence. Nature has so much to teach us if we are willing to listen. It is our life force, the invisible hand always present in our everyday. The sun shining, plants growing, our breath moving. Everything follows its rhythm, the beat of a silent heart that carries the living world through life cycle after life cycle. Trees grow towards the light, rivers run towards the sea, flowers bloom and die. In nature, we can find secureness in surety in the pattern of life, something our chaotic modern world doesn't always provide. My relationship with nature has been slow in developing, a timid friendship taking its time to blossom. I began noticing that we were kindred spirits when I realized how rejuvenated I would be after spending days at the park. Picnicking or reading or watching the sky. A couple of years ago, I remember spending an entire day finishing the Harry Potter series under a blossoming crabapple tree in the middle of spring, crying from a mix of allergies and emotion from Harry Potter and beauty from the scene around me. Slowly over the years, I continued to seek out my friend and companion, nature, during times of stress and sadness, happiness and joy. I retreated to a park by my office every single day during my final job in my corporate career. It was a relief from the grueling work week, the office full of people eating at their desks. I don't know how I would have survived without that little park. I ate there rain or shine, snow or sleet. Sometimes I would just sit in my car because it was so cold, but at least I could look up at the sky and thank the trees for withstanding the smog of the city and still growing tall, for being there with me and not judging me for taking a lunch break. My love of nature snuck up on me like this. Before I knew it, I needed it in my life, as a friend, a teacher, and a home. It was only natural that on my current path of exploration, I should turn to my old friend for guidance. My heart was open and I was scared. Scared of all the unknown before me, scared of how I was confronting my long-time anxiety. I wanted an answer, concrete, immediate. How can I be happy? How can I heal my anxious mind? But that's never how life really teaches you anything, is it? I began going to the forest in the mornings to sit. On the drive over, my mind would be racing with a million thoughts. Once I arrived, I would pace around, antsy, bored, waiting for the next thing. Modern life is so hectic and full of instant gratification, something that I've been trained to get used to. And that is something the forest just doesn't offer. The forest offers you patience. The forest offers you quiet. There may be birds chirping and leaves rustling, but the quiet is more of a feeling than a sound. Sometimes it would take quite a while, but gradually my mind and body would start to match this pace. I would begin to watch the hum of things, the quake of the aspens and the pools of golden light that dappled the forest floor. My mind followed the stream running over stones, smoothed over 1,000 years. I pondered how the trees spoke to one another through their roots, sharing nutrients and supporting one another. In the forest, something happens to my mind that I have a hard time with at home. It finds patience. As I spend more time watching the workings of the natural world, I begin to realize nature teaches you that nothing is black and white. Gentle morning clouds tend to have hints of darkness in them, promising afternoon lightning and rain. Often in a forest, lightning can strike dead trees and begin a forest fire, clearing a portion of the land. But from this destruction, the soil is rejuvenated. New saplings spring up, and the burned acreage blooms with life once again. Avalanches and floods forever change the landscape, creating what seems like a scar on the land at first, but always becoming another source of continued life and beauty. I find myself drawing parallels to my own mind and the way nature cycles through light and dark periods, existing together harmoniously. The parts of myself that I feel are dark, like my anxiety, are not necessarily bad parts of me. Maybe they are just phases that I have to pass through on my journey as a human being. And just like life returning after a fire, I can look back and see all that I've learned from the dark and difficult times with my mental health. As much as a forest needs storms and avalanches to keep its life cycle continuing, what if the traits about me that I don't like are still part of me? As valid as all the other pieces that make up the mosaic of who I am. Just maybe, I could change my relationship with anxiety, from dreading and fearing its return to accepting it as a part of my journey, greeting my anxious thoughts with less judgment and letting them pass without feeling like a failure, knowing that I've learned and grown from all of my life experiences, especially the painful ones. I wanted to take a brief pause from the video to share with you an art piece I made that was inspired by the emotions and experiences I've been describing. Sometimes words just can't capture the magic of a feeling. And for me, I can express myself best through art. Sometimes I think the root of anxiety is from our fast-paced modern world. We have instant entertainment at our fingertips, which sometimes has its positive aspects, but is also addictive and crowding our brain with information. It makes our attention spans short and our threshold for happiness high. It feels like there isn't space to find peace. I should be worrying about what I see on the news or my future. It's the perfect environment for an ever-racing, anxious mind, at least for me. And I think that's why nature feels like the antithesis to never-ending emails and phone buzzing and advertisements. Because try as you might, nature will stop you in your tracks. Nature will take your mind that is living in tomorrow and next week and next year and drop it right back down to here and now. There is nothing but the present when you are out in the wilderness. You are forced to look both inward and outward to take care of yourself, something we can often neglect when we have such easy access to our daily needs in a city. When I am out backpacking or camping, I feel connected to myself and the world unlike any other time. I'm keenly aware of my needs for food and water and rest. I have to watch where I put my feet as I walk, keep my ears alert for sounds of wildlife. There are no crutches to lean on, no cell phone service or internet to look things up on. Just my mind, body, and breath. And it feels so enlivening. I begin to get lost in the tasks of surviving. As my hands work, my mind stills. With the chop of every piece of wood, my body gives over to the methodic rhythm around me. I realize, both in my head and in my heart, that this land is giving me life. This is how people lived and survived for many years. The pitch sap from the pines is igniting my fire, the wood sustaining it, the water quenching my thirst, the soil and grass and flowers nourishing my bare feet. The evening can pass just sitting by the fire, watching it slowly turn from flame to glittering embers. My mood becomes content and calm, and I start to feel more in equilibrium. To close this story about my winding journey with anxiety, I would say that I'm in uncharted territory, but in a really good way. As one therapist told me, my anxiety will always be there. It is part of me still, the part of myself that likes to be prepared, have a plan, and protect myself and those I love. The difference is in how I respond to it. But I think taking care of myself and connecting to the world around me has helped me to accept it more than I ever have before. As much as I've learned from the forests and mountains, the reality is I live in a city, which, even with its modern stresses, I still enjoy. I don't have access to untouched nature every day to ease my mind. But I don't have to be camping or backpacking to find the kind of peace I find in the forest. The beauty and rhythm exists right here, in the trees that line the streets and the flower boxes in the public parks. It's just making time to see all of these things in a concrete jungle. Nature peeks through everywhere, and you can always find it in its beautiful patience wherever you are. One of my favorite books, The Alchemist, encapsulates the feeling of peace I've found in nature so beautifully. All you have to do is contemplate a single grain of sand, and you will see in it all the marvels of creation. Listen to your heart. It knows all the things because it came from the soul of the world, and it will one day return there. I would like to end by saying, mental health is a different journey for every single person. I'm not trying to give advice on anxiety or come across as an expert on the subject. This has just been my own journey. Your path to happiness may look completely different from mine. And if you feel symptoms of depression or anxiety, please reach out for professional help. There are so many wonderful therapists and programs to help you find your happiest self. I would not be where I am today without therapy. I've linked some mental health resources below that are accessible regardless of financial means. Thank you for watching my video and hearing my story. Sending love out there to anyone and everyone that is going through something. Be kind to yourself and take care.